How's it going, everybody? GetWrecked57 here, and in today's video, I'm just gonna be going over all the heroes in Marvel Rivals right now, and talking about some changes that would like to see, or that maybe some people in the community would like to see, going into Season 5.5 with the introduction of Rogue into the game. So, as I'm recording this video, it is December 8th. Um, and I'm not entirely sure when the release date of Rogue is, but this is changes I'd like to see without the factor of Rogue coming into the game. So we're gonna just, no particular order. I'm just going to go based on the order that's here, and I'm going to be putting each character, excuse me, each character into a category based on what probably needs to happen to the character, based on how strong they are, how weak they are, or other factors in the game. So we have buff, whether they need a buff, a nerf, maybe a rework, a team up change, or they're good where they are, they don't need to change. So let's start with Adam Warlock. I think it comes as no surprise to anybody that this character probably needs a buff. Adam Warlock right now is not a very strong character. He has the problem of he has got very little survivability outside of his soul bond. His soul bond lasts, I think it's like something like 5-6 seconds, and it disperses the damage dealt to his teammates over everybody. However, once that tool is gone, he is very susceptible to dive characters because of how little mobility and survivability he has. Um, in terms of changes that they can do to him, I feel like they gotta give him some form of survivability. They gotta give him like maybe a little bit like 275 HP, or they have to give him maybe a way to fight back easier against DPS characters, but they need to give him some sort of survivability so that dive does not absolutely cripple him because of how squishy he is. Next, we have Angela. I honestly don't think this character needs a change. I think the last buff that they did to her, where they increased her uptime in terms of the charge, like where her charge brings people even further back, was actually a decent change. So now she acts kind of as like a tank Wolverine, where she'll go behind people and they'll kidnap her. The only thing I could say about her is, I guess you could throw this into like the nerf/rework category. I'm gonna keep it no change because this is very much change. They gotta make it so that you can hear her again. Because I don't know if you guys remember this, but Flats mentioned in a video that Angela actually got like a hidden buff where now her flight does not sound like Iron Man's. She's like almost completely silent during her flight, so you can never hear if she's behind you. They need to, like, I don't think she should sound like Iron Man, but she should definitely make noise, right? Because the only time you'll ever hear her is when she's starting up her charge with her spear, right? Her pin charge. And like by that time it's too late because she's now accelerating at a speed faster than you can react. So that, other than that though, I think she's a really, like, she's quite balanced, got a good amount of counters, right? And if you just pay attention, you won't get pinned that much. So yeah. Next, Black Panther. He can go in one of two categories. He either needs a buff or he needs a rework. Probably rework. Black Panther is really, really bad right now. It's arguably one of the worst characters in the game, if not the worst character in the game. Um, he, uh, he got slaughtered in the balance changes recently, or like, I don't know if it was a season or half a season ago, but basically they reduced, they made the cooldown on his dash longer. They made the cooldown on his kick longer, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and then they also reduced his health and the shields he gained when he hit his dashes. So overall, his survivability got tanked, and his uptime got reduced as well. And he also lost the team up with Magic and got the Hulk team up, which is like okay, but then you have to play Hulk, right? the problem with this character is that he if they buff him to make him like viable again, he then can run lobbies because people at the like mid to lower ranks have no idea how to deal with him because he's too fast. Necros mentioned something really interesting about the character that they could do is give him a purple dash trail behind the character so that whenever he dashes, you can actually there's like a visual like effect on the screen that shows you where he's been and where he went to, right? That could be an interesting rework, or they can just overall change. I also heard somebody mention in another video they can reduce all of his damage over all of his abilities, but give him like more of those abilities, or give him more of the ability to stay in the fight. So more uptime, meaning that he's able to contribute to the fights more consistently. In order to make him more balanced and more fun to play. But as of right now, he needs a rework or a buff, like one of the two. Next, Black Widow. This one's a weird one. I'm going to put her in no changes, even though she's not really one of the stronger DPS in the game, right? So people could argue that she needs a buff. But the problem with this character is it's very hard to buff her to make her good without making her primary fire one-shot 250s, basically. Because the last thing you want is this to be a Widowmaker situation from like Overwatch. Because in Overwatch, Widowmaker was one of the hardest characters to balance simply because of no matter how much you nerfed her, she can still one-shot people to the head. And that character could just run games. And it would probably be the same thing with this character is if you buffed her so that she can one-shot in the head with her primary fire without Mantis damage boost, she would probably just take over lobbies and they'd have to nerf her again so that she can't do that, right? So I'm gonna put it no change. However, they could do a couple like reworks to make her more competitively viable without making her a one-shot to the head hero. Blade, this character needs a buff. This character is very, very weak. I I don't think I think I've seen him in all the competitive games I've played, and I've probably played hundreds this season. I've seen him a grand total of one time on my team. Once. And I think that was in quick play, not even competitive. So this character needs a significant buff, man. I'm talking like either they need to increase his lifesteal while in the sword form, or they need to increase his damage while in the sword form, or they need to increase the amount of healing he can get from teammates while in the sword form. So most of it is the sword form because the primary fire on the gun is actually very good. His gun is very good, his block is very good, but it's the sword form, like, the problem is healing just out heals his damage straight up. He can gain his ult pretty quick, but the healing, he never kills anybody outside of his ultimate, right? And the only way really to kill anybody outside of his ultimate is with the gun, and even then, it's blade, it's not gun, right? So they need to buff his damage probably in the sword form, or buff his ability to deal damage in the sword form in order to make him a little bit more competitively viable. Captain America. Um, I feel like they could do a team up change for this one. I don't think he needs a nerf or buff or rework. And I would put him in the no change, but the team up with Bucky is so bad. Like it really doesn't do much. It only gives Bucky help, really, because Bucky can use it as a mobility tool, but it doesn't like give Cap anything. I think his team up with Thor, the one with Thor and Storm where he got a lightning shield, was so much better. I don't know what team up they could do with him, but I feel like they can do like maybe something with Iron Man, right? Because in the movies, Iron Man can shoot his beam off of Cap's shield, and like it's like a laser beam across the team. But I just feel like they got to do something more interesting with Captain America's team up, because his team up is kind of dull and like nobody really uses it, right? Even when I've seen a Bucky with the Cap team up, I very rarely see them use it because it's just like it's kind of just pointless. So I definitely would like to see a team up change. Cloak and Dagger. Um, I don't think she needs a change. Honestly, I think she's okay where she is. She's got decently utility, good survivability. I definitely think they should probably reduce her health back to 270, 250, like it was before. But even that is like negotiable. I don't think that. like doing that would change too much. Her ultimate is super strong. However, her ultimate is very cancelable, right? That's the good thing about Cloak. Like that's why I like Cloak and Dagger ultimate, because if she doesn't die in it, it's a very strong ultimate, right? Obviously, but there's a lot of counters. Iron Man maximum pulse, Magneto ult, right? It actually forces the player using the ultimate to think a little bit about how they use it when they use it, right? Unlike Lunal, where you just click it and it's 10 seconds of invulnerability, pretty much, right? So I think this character is pretty good where she is. Daredevil, this is a weird one for me. I'll put him in nerf because he gets permabanned at higher levels, and even at Celestial, GM, even Diamond players are nerfing him. However, I feel like this character is a little overhyped. People always like, I've seen so many people like ban Daredevil, he's so broken, so broken. I'm like, sometimes Daredevil is just really easy to kill, but I bet if you go against a Daredevil demon, he can run the lobby. But I'll put him in nerf, but a small one. Very small nerf, right? They don't need to do too much to make this character less annoying to play. But I'll be honest, if people always come out like when a dive character is strong, they always have to slaughter the dive character for some reason. As if like dive is not the strongest in the game. Anyway, Doctor Strange. Um, I don't think this. I think this character is perfect. I think he's great where he is. He's not too OP, but he's really fun to play. He's not too weak. His team up with Witch is actually pretty decent. It's a pretty good team up. So, not much to say. Solid character. Pretty good. Emma Frost probably needs to get nerfed. This character has been meta for like every season that she's been in the game. They need to genuinely do something that seriously hurts her. Right? They tried. They tried reducing her diamond coat. The simple fact is the choke slam is too strong. And it's still too strong. I don't know exactly what they could do, but maybe like you know how Hulk at the end of his team up he slams like if he picks up a player and starts slamming them around, it puts them in that like really long CC where they can't really do anything. Make her choke slam like that, right? Where during the choke slam, allies cannot heal the player, but enemies cannot shoot the player. Does that make sense? Because when a Hulk grabs a player and starts slamming them on the ground, the Hulk's teammates cannot shoot the player, and the person who's getting slammed, healers cannot heal them. So they're kind of like, it's just those two locked in combat for that little amount of time. But what you could do is do that for Emma, but after Emma's done choke slamming the player, then they're free to the teammates. So it still gives her the power of putting like canceling ultimates and stuff like that, but the player doesn't get absolutely demolished before you have a chance to use any of your abilities to save yourself, right? I think that'd be a good change. Or just somehow, like, I don't know, reduce her survivability in the diamond form, something like that. Gambit. I was wrong about this character. I was wrong. I'll be honest. I said in a video in my tier list and in a short that this character did not need a nerf. I was completely wrong. This character is the best support in the game, probably. Like the only other one would be Invis, and I still think that Gambit is stronger than Invis. The ultimate is probably the strongest support ult in the game right now. I don't think that's really a debate. It gives your teammates incredible speed boost. It gives them high damage. It gives them ult charge. It gives them attack speed. It gives them jump height. Like I've never even seen that. They can jump higher, and it also gives them a lot of healing. And it's just a super powerful ultimate that is just it lasts a good amount of time as well. And so there's a couple things they could do to nerf him. The ultimate is one. I think the ultimate needs to be nerfed 100%. They need to nerf a couple factors in the ultimate. Probably I don't think they need to nerf the healing. I don't think the healing is absurd. But the speed boost probably needs to get reduced, and the damage needs to get reduced because the amount of damage you deal with that ultimate is just absurd. Considering it gives you like practical immortality, right? Like a support ult does. It gives you hella healing, right? That's the first nerf they could do to him. And then the second nerf I feel like they should do, this character should be 250 HP. I don't see a reason why this character should not be 250 HP. He's so much survivability that like reducing his HP by 25 would not kill the character in the slightest. I don't think they need to nerf any other parts of his kit, because the rest of his kit is entirely skill based and very, like, you have to manage cooldowns very well, right? So if you don't manage your cooldowns well, his kit doesn't work. Groot. Um, I think this character is good where he is. I feel like he could maybe get a team up change, because he's got some very boring team ups. He's got the Mantis team up, but which is whatever. Um, but I feel like they could do something a lot more interesting with Groot team up. I don't know what they could do, but definitely a better Groot team up. Other than that, the character is pretty balanced. No real complaints. Nerf this character. I mean, this character. I again, I was also wrong about this character. I did not put him in S plus tier in my tier list video. Hawkeye. I don't know what they could do to this character, but they need to find a way to nerf him. They need to either nerf his ultimate, or they need to, like, I don't know. They gotta nerf something. They definitely gotta nerf the damage on his primary fire, because that is ridiculous. This character runs lobbies. I have to permaban this character, because if I don't, it's whoever has the better Hawkeye wins, pretty much. They gotta do some nerfs to this character, reduce the damage on his primary fire, make his ult cost more probably, and then when he's in his ultimate, he should probably charge his arrows a little bit less fast, because they increase the rate at which his arrows charge by like 50% or something stupid like that. Yeah, he definitely needs nerf. And while we're there, this character also needs to be nerfed. Hela is way too strong. It's her damage, really. There's not much else about her kit, but her primary fire is ridiculously broken, and the team up with Namor is ridiculously broken. They definitely need to nerf her, and probably nerf the Namor team up as well. Because if you don't ban this character, she gets played every single time. So yeah. Hulk. I'm gonna go with buff on this character, but like a minute buff. Like, they buffed him recently, but the thing is, Hulk was always played for his team ups and not for Hulk. Like, there was a couple players who played Hulk because Hulk was like fun to play for them, and he can have impact, but he's super hard to play. So they honestly need to give him a couple little buffs. Maybe, I don't know if a buff to survivability or a buff to maybe some damage or something, but they should find a way to give this character a little bit of a buff, so that he's a little bit more like he's just better, because honestly he's really weak. He's kind of just a big ult battery in a lot of scenarios, and obviously his team up with BP is terrible, right? Because BP is terrible. Maybe this character would be better if BP was better, but right now he's just terrible, so he probably just needs a buff. Human Torch. This is a weird ass one, because Human Torch had run lobbies for like the last like 2.5 seasons, right? But all of a sudden, like, I have never seen Torch again. So I'm gonna go with a buff to this character. They probably need to buff his damage a little bit, or maybe his survivability a little bit, to give him a little bit more of an ability to be played. Because he's not too strong right now. Yeah, he's just not played with, like, in any scenarios right now. So that just a nice buff to his damage or healing would be pretty good. His ultimate, I think, is fine, but you have to be careful, because if you buff this character too much, we'll have another scenario where Human Torch runs lobbies again. Invisible Woman needs a nerf. This character has just got way too much power. They buffed her to high heaven for whatever reason. Literally everybody was like, why are we buffing Invis, when they saw the patch notes? Because Invis was already decently strong. They could have, like, the little buff they could have done is increase her healing in her ultimate, because her ultimate is very easy to shut down. But other than that, they didn't really need to buff anything else. Like, they buffed her pull, or they could have given her the shield thing as well, where she could place the shield in front of herself. But other than that, they buffed her E, her pull and push, to have more range. It did not need more range. That ability already had way too much range to start with, and then they buffed it. Her primary fire got more damage. Why? It's a support character. It's not supposed to deal damage. And then they also buffed the speed at which her primary fire went out. I guess that's okay, but even then, it's like, did she really need it? And yeah, it was just, and then I think they buffed the damage on her shift as well. They just buffed everything. And I'm like, why would you buff this character that much? Because she was already, like, strong. She just needed a little bit help with the ultimate. But now she's just super strong. They definitely need to nerf, like, all the things that they did, remove it, except for the support ult buff and the shield where she could place the shield in front of her. Iron Fist. This character is weird. Because this character, I've definitely had, like, he shreds tanks bad. But he doesn't do anything to a backline anymore. He gets his damage is very easily out healed. That's 100%. I think a little bit of a buff, but not too much. This character is a demon if you give him too much of a buff. Like a small buff. I'm talking incremental, maybe a little bit of damage buff, but no more than that. But very small buff, but not too much. 100%. Iron Man probably needs a buff. This character has been weak for, like, he is not good. His team up with Ultron is terrible. I definitely put him in the team up change as well. He needs a couple changes, like, to his team up and just to his overall kit. He's squishy. His ultimate is okay, but it's only really used to shut down support ults, and even then it's pretty easily countered by Magneto. And what it'll do is it'll just feed Magneto ult, and Magneto will just dunk on your backline, and it's really bad. Um, yeah, it's just not a good character. Definitely a lot of buffs. Like, not a lot of buffs, but some buffs are needed. I bet I would definitely make him 275 HP. Like, give him some good, like, give him survivability, because he's already pretty easy to hit. And maybe give him a little bit of increase to his damage. And they also should maybe give him, like, an like, overhealth on his ult initiation, so that he's, like, harder to kill. But even that's kind of debatable. Phoenix. Phoenix. This character is, again, like, it's like a weird one where she probably doesn't need buffs. But I also, like, she doesn't get played that much. I'm gonna put no change for now. I think she's fine where she is, even though she's a little too strong, so I'd almost put her in the nerf category. Because her primary fire does so much damage. She can two-shot you. And that's a problem. I hate characters that could two-shot you. And her fire thing that she puts on the ground that's like an infinite stun, I don't like that either. Her ult's pretty good, but you can actually just break her ultimate, which is better. So I'm going to put her in no change. But yeah, she arguably could get a nerf. Maybe. Jeff probably needs a little bit of a buff, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think he's that strong right now. I mean, maybe in triple support he's good, but even then, I don't see triple support Jeff. I usually see triple support like Gambit, Mantis, Invis. That's kind of more what you play with. Or Loki to copy Gambit ult. But, I mean, a little bit of a buff to Jeff, but not too much, because this character definitely can run lobbies. And again, we had a season previously where Jeff, like, just destroyed the game, where, like, Jeff literally was like the only support you could pick, and it was weird. It was a weird time in Marvel Rivals. Like, I don't know, definitely don't need to buff his survivability, but I guess you could buff maybe his utility, or maybe give him, like, another, like, water ball that he could spit, because he only has 3 of those on a charge. You could maybe give him 4 to make him be able to do a little bit more damage. But other than that, I wouldn't touch him that much. Buff is okay, but not too much of a buff. Loki needs a buff. This character is like really weak right now. They slaughtered him as they should because he was broken for too long, but he was only kind of broken because Luna was broken, right? And now, like, we got Loki here, who, like, the only real use for him is to copy Gambit ult, but then you have the problem of you have Loki heals instead of Invis heals, and Loki heals are much worse than Invis heals. His crystal doesn't need a buff, but I feel like they could buff, like, the healing. Just his primary fire healing. Um, in order to just give him a little bit more of support capabilities. Other than that, I don't think they need to do any other changes to him. Luna, a small buff, very small, but I think one of the things that they might actually be doing, because I think we saw it leaked in one of the Luna skin videos, they need to buff how fast her snowball travels. Because that snowball is so hard to hit, because it travels so slow. Making the snowball travel a bit quicker would definitely be good for her. That's definitely, like, that's probably, like, the only change I'd do to her. Like, a little buff just to the snowball, like, travel speed. Other than that, don't buff her, but that buff probably needs to happen to her, and then she's fine. Magic, I think this character is fine where she is. She doesn't really need that many buffs, or she doesn't need a buff or a nerf. She's not too strong, but she's not too, like, weak either. Or, yeah, like, she's not too weak, she's not too strong. So she's kind of in the middle. If you play her well, you can give value. Her ultimate's decent. She doesn't have any game-breaking like combos that are unreactable. It's just it's a fair character. Like her team up with Strange is good for her because she's able to like keep supports together so that her demon can do multiple hits on both supports. But yeah, I think this is just a pretty well-rounded character right now, right? Not too broken, not too weak. Magneto. I think this character is completely fine where he is. He may be one of the better tanks in the game, but I don't think he's broken. I don't think he breaks the game. And I'm not saying this just because I'm a Magneto main, but I'm saying this genuinely because I don't think Magneto breaks Marvel Rivals. I think his team up is good. With Gambit, it gives him more of a kill potential. His ability to keep his teammates alive is good. His survivability is good. His ultimate is pretty good, but he doesn't run lobbies, right? It's not like you pick Magneto, no brain, you have to pick him, otherwise you lose the game. He's just a solid tank to have on your team in like a good amount of scenarios because of his ability to protect and just be a solid tank. I think he's completely fine where he is, and I don't think they really need to do any changes to him. Mantis is again a weird one. I think again the team up, I don't think she needs a nerf or buff. I think her kit is pretty well rounded. Maybe a little bit of a. I definitely would give this character 275 HP as well because she's really not got that much survivability at all. And like yeah, she should have 275, whereas some of these characters should not have 275, right? They keep giving 275 HP to characters that should have 250, and then 250 HP characters that need to have 275 will stay at 250 for some reason. I don't know. Mantis just a little bit of an HP buff, or they just need to give her a better team up. Her team up with Groot is so bad. Nobody uses it. It doesn't really do much. So yeah. Mr. Fantastic needs a buff. His character is super weak. I don't see him played at all, pretty much. And when he is played, he really doesn't do anything. He's kind of like a pseudo tank that doesn't do damage. The problem is you're playing DPS. If you're playing Mr. Fent, in order to try and mimic a tank, just pick a tank. You have you have the 650 HP at all times instead of only having it whenever you are inflated form. The ultimate is trash, and then the utility, like he's only really good against Angela because he can cancel her like kidnaps, and he's okay against Wolverine because he can cancel the kidnaps. But other than that, like he doesn't do damage. He's super weak in the damage department. So like buffs to his damage. That's probably it. Like make him actually do damage. Make him a DPS, right? Otherwise, move him to the tank role, man. Like if he's gonna try and fill a tank role, just move him to tank. Moon Knight. Moon Knight. This character is played a lot. A slight nerf. Not too much, because this character does not run lobbies. Well, I guess he kind of runs lobbies, but he's easy to kill. He's very squishy if you can get to him, but he definitely does way too much damage. Like, his Onk, like, when an Onk hits the ground, if your supports aren't paying attention to whoever the Onk hits, they die. That's it. You die instantly, right? If you're a solo support with no mobility, like, if you're a solo support like, Mantis, for example, you're just going to die. If your other support has died and he throws an onk on you, you're dead, unfortunately. There's nothing you can do because you can't escape the circle fast enough. So they probably need to reduce the damage he does because his damage is way too high, right? And I know that that's what Moon Knight's supposed to be, but I mean, it's just way too much damage for one character. Namor, again, like this character just needs a nerf. I hate this character. He keeps getting broken team ups, and he needs to stop it. Like he needs to stop getting broken team ups because he just like his kit is already good. He doesn't need a broken team up. Really, give him like one of the crappy team ups, right? Just an extra thing that he can have. But don't stop giving him gamma squids and free squids and squids every time a person dies on the enemy team, and then don't give him anti-heal. This character is strong already. Don't like nerf, like they gotta nerf, get rid of his team up, And they probably need to nerf his squid damage, because the squids do way too much damage. They're turrets, man. They're hit scan turrets that like track you and do so much damage. This character is like a menace. Penny. This one. I'm going to put her in the nerf category, but I just want to stress that I don't think she needs a heavy nerf at all. She needs a nerf because she runs lower lobbies. At higher levels, this character does not really do anything because people actually shoot the nests. But for lower level players, make the healing a little bit less because she heals teammates now, right? They need to either remove that or they need to make it significantly less healing that she gives to teammates. Like make it so that teammates don't get the overhealth, right? Give them the speed boost and the healing, but don't give them the overhealth because the overhealth is ridiculous. Like like sometimes you have to work so hard just to take the overhealth off of the enemies, let alone kill the whole thing. Psylocke needs a nerf. This character has been strong for forever. And like I don't know why they keep buffing her. She needs to be nerfed and stay nerfed. It's the same thing with Hela. They basically, if like look at these three characters right here. These three characters got nerfs to the point where they were balanced, and because they weren't S tier for one season, for whatever reason, NetEase was like, "Oh, this is a problem. We need to make them the most broken DPS in the game again." So they buffed them all to high heaven again. I don't know why they keep doing this. They need to stop buffing Hela, stop buffing Psylocke, nerf them back to how they were, and don't buff them again because these characters need to stop being meta every single season, right? There's only one season where they haven't been the meta picks, right? And then after that, NetEase is like, well, gotta buff them again. It's stupid. They gotta stop buffing these characters. Nerf Psylocke's damage, and they gotta figure out a way to. They definitely need to make it so that she can't hit people outside the circle, even if she was about to go dash and hit them. If they leave the circle, they shouldn't get hit. That's it, man. She shouldn't be going 40 feet outside the circle and hitting me after I've left the circle. Like that's stupid. Anyway, Rocket, no change. This character is very balanced. The respawn anchor maybe like a 5-second increase to the cooldown, but even then, he's pretty balanced. His ultimate, you can destroy it, which is nice, but it also, like, if you don't destroy it, it's really powerful. Gives overhealth, gives damage. It only has a 1,000 HP. He only has 250 HP, as he should. This character is one of the ones that should stay 250 because his survivability is already really high. And his healing is, it's okay. It's not bad, but, you know, it's not, like, super OP healing. Witch, I think again, no, maybe a little bit of a buff, like small buff. Like I'm talking minute buff, not too much, right? But maybe a little bit of a buff so that she actually has a little bit more kill potential, like a DPS kill potential. Because outside of her ultimate, I don't really see Witch getting kills, right? Because she just doesn't do that much damage. Spider-Man. This character needs a buff, but not. I don't want to say he needs a statistic buff. Okay? He doesn't need buffs to like his damage or anything like that. They need to give him a team up. A good team up. Okay? This character, look, this character got 0 changes, right? Over like the first couple seasons. The only difference was like Venom team up. That was it. Like the Venom team up got changed. The Venom team up got a little bit stronger, and all of a sudden Spidey was actually like playable, right? So what they need to do is they need to change this character's team up, right? Let me put team up change. This isn't his torch team up is terrible. It literally makes you worse by using it. If you use the torch team up, it brings you away from the opponent so you can't follow up with another overhead when you hit them. This team up is awful, right? And it takes precise timing to use. And then the other problem with the team up is then you then have to have a torch on your team. He needs to have a team up with a support or a tank so that you don't have to play 2 DPS in order to get the team up. I genuinely think this is they need to bring back the Venom team up, right? Because giving him that extra tool to get a kill is like would be perfect for him. He needs a buff, but not to his statistics, but to his team up. They need to give him a good team up, a team up that does good damage, like a Venom team up, and gives him like the Venom team up was good because it gave him a little bit of survivability while he was fighting, and gave him a little bit extra damage. Definitely, I would bring back the Venom team up, but they're not going to. But they should. Star-Lord, I think they could nerf this character a little bit. Not too much, again, because he's not absurdly broken. But that backflip is stupid. I've never seen a more stupid tool than the backflip because of the amount of invulnerability he gets. First off, just remove the 25 overhealth he got from the backflip. That's all they need to do. Other than that, this character is fine. Just remove the 25 overhealth he gets on the backflip so that, like, he didn't, like, the backflip already gives him so much survivability. Why do you have to give him overhealth as well? That's it. That's all I would change to him. Storm, I would say this character needs a buff, but, like, honestly, maybe a little bit of a buff just to her, like, regular damage, but don't buff anything else because she already, like, she provides a team-wide damage boost, which is really strong because it gives basically Mantis damage boost team-wide, which is really good, but she is very squishy. She's very easy to kill, right? And that's the problem. Her team up with Jeff is really, really good, so I don't think she needs to change her team up, right? Because it's kind of like the Storm Torch team up where like she cooked everybody. It's the same thing with the Storm Jeff team up, and actually is able to cancel support ults, which I really like, because I think support ults should be cancelable. Like you should be able to like stop support ults because support ults are super strong. Just a little bit of buff to her regular damage. Other than that, she doesn't need a buff. Squirrel Girl. I'm gonna say this character doesn't need a change because she probably doesn't, but I hate this character. Like this character does ridiculous amount of damage by just spamming down main, but I guess that's a skill issue and not a balancing issue. Pun Pun. Um, I'd say a slight nerf to his damage, just a little bit. A very slight nerf to his damage, because the fact that he can like one shot you with the shotgun is just the most stupid thing I've ever seen in my life. Um, but other than that, he's quite squishy because he's a really big target, and his ultimate is pretty easy to counter if you use your brain. But it can catch people if he uses his brain read. So it's a nice like skill based ultimate, but his shotgun needs to be nerfed. I hate that shotgun. It does way too much damage. It makes him almost impossible to fight at close range. It's stupid. Thing-a-ling could use a buff. This character is weak. The rework they gave to him was interesting, but not enough to bring him back into the meta. He still gets cooked by a lot of characters. The CC immunity can be helpful, but it's not really much. Yeah, I wouldn't. I would definitely buff this character. I don't know what they could do to him, but they definitely got to give him some sort of buff to make him a little bit stronger. Thor. Again, a little bit of a buff. This character's been weak for a little bit. Like they tried to give him some changes to make him feel smoother, and I bet he does feel smoother. But he's still pretty weak. He's still like he's really prone to CC, which is his biggest problem. And his ultimate is like good to use now, but again, it's still pretty easy to avoid. So his ultimate's pretty bad, but it's not bad. Just a small buff, maybe to his like, or maybe you know what? No, I'm gonna put him in. Doesn't need a change, but like, I don't know. It's just a really hard character to use. Ultron needs a buff. This is not even obviously everybody knew this. Um, Ultron needs a buff. This character is really, really weak. Really weak. He has like his healing is bad and his damage is not very good and his ultimate is not very good anymore. So like in general, he just does not do much. He doesn't even feel like a support character because of how little healing he does. So just like they need to buff his healing and well, that's pretty much it. They need to buff his healing and maybe buff the damage he does on his ultimate because they made him do more damage to overhealth with his ultimate, but he doesn't do any more damage on regular health, which means that he still does the shitty damage that he does on regular health. His ultimate is completely out healable with just primary fire on supports, right? If a support just shoots the other support, they'll never die. That's it. So yeah, a solid buff Ultron is required. Venom. Uh, Venom. let's put no change. Other than I'd like to see him have a team up with Spidey, but in terms of Venom himself, his team up with Jeff and Hela is like, it's whatever. It's not horrible. It's not great, but who cares? His kit is relatively good. He does have a big problem if he gets CC'd super hard, but I feel like that's gonna happen when your entire like play style is diving into the entire enemy team, mostly the backline, but the enemy team will come back and shoot you, right? But he's like he works really well in dive comps and he really promotes like coordinated play. And if you play him well, he can get tons of value. So I don't think he needs any changes as of right now, but I definitely would love to see a change to his team up with Spidey so he could have a team up with Spidey. Bucky needs to be nerfed. This character, I don't like. I think the only nerf I'd really give to him is his uppercut, his shift does like they need to make it so it doesn't turn off mobility. It literally like they made his uppercut turn off mobility after he's used it on them, which is just so stupid because he already has such a crazy displacement kit that now you displace them and you turn off mobility, which is just stupid. That's the only change I'd do to him. Maybe like also reduce the overhealth he gets from all of his abilities. But other than that, like I don't think he needs many changes other than that, but definitely those two changes. Uppercut, no more 1 second lockout, and less overhealth on ability use. And then finally, or they make it so that you have to hit the ability to get the overhealth from it, right? That's some like magic, right? Because magic has to actually hit people in order to get the overhealth. Finally, Wolverine. I think this character doesn't need a change. He has a pretty decent team up with Phoenix. The Hulk and Thing throw team up. Like everybody, obviously it's not a very strong team up, but it's funny, right? And I like fun team ups in the game, so I think that's a really fun team up, and I don't think they should remove it. I think that's a really cool team up for them to keep in the game. So no change to the team up. He doesn't need a nerf, obviously, because he doesn't really run lobbies. He doesn't really he doesn't do anything like he's not OP, right? But he doesn't need a buff because he can definitely have a lot of impact if you play him well, right? If you kidnap the tank's perma, you can have a lot of impact. And even then, even if they're playing like tanks like Thing and Emma, if you play correctly, you can still you can't kidnap them because they're CC immune. But when you try and kidnap the Thing, right, and it does the thing where it stuns him instead of kidnaps him, that's still a pretty strong use of your kidnap in order to like stun the Thing and like shred him. Yeah. So that's my thoughts of what they need to do for the next season. All of this is subject to change, literally every single one, because it all depends on how Rogue affects the game. Because a lot of these changes, a lot of these characters would be in different categories if like Gambit didn't exist, right? Gambit changed the meta, and of course all the balance changes change the meta, but character introductions can affect how good characters are without balance changes, if that makes sense, because certain characters are good against other characters, right? So like Namor is actually decent against Daredevil, so Namor went up when Daredevil came in because we needed a counter to Daredevil, if that makes any sense. Anyway, thank you all who stayed to the end of the video. Please drop what you think in the comments. Let me know if you would change anything on this list, if you disagreed with me. And please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoy my content and would like to support me. And yeah, so I'll see y'all in the next one. Have a good day.